To close out 2023, On is taking everything that was good about the Cloudsurfer and pushing it to the max. This is the On Cloudeclipse, and it's time to take it for a run. Yo, what's going on everybody? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews shoes here on YouTube, and today I want to talk to you guys about the On Cloudeclipse. But before I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that On sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for these shoes. However, they're not paying me to make this video or to use the shoe, and they're not going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the On Cloudeclipse. First, let's go over some specs on this shoe, and what we have here is a tall boy. This is what On is calling a double layer of cloud tech phase, and that's kind of a little bit confusing to me because we really just have really big clouds, or the holes that are in the midsole foam here. And if you compare it to the Cloudsurfer that also has cloud tech phase and introduced that concept earlier this year, you could see that the holes are a lot bigger, but On also has other non-cloud tech phase shoes, but that are cloud shoes that do actually have like a double layer of clouds or holes in the midsole foam. And that's a little bit different than like the double layer that they're talking about here. So I think it just means that like the foam is bigger and the holes are bigger as well, or the cloud tech phase clouds are bigger here as well. The entire stack height is also bigger here too, and it's got a 6mm drop, which kind of makes sense for a lot of these bigger, taller shoes that are on the market today. Now, the foam itself is made out of On's Helion Super Foam, which again is a foam that we saw in the Cloudsurfer, but there are a lot of other differences in terms of the sculpting of it, and I think a lot of that has to do with trying to wrangle or manage a much bigger stack height of foam. We've got a notch cut through the back of the shoe that goes through the back of the heel, and that also kind of extends all the way through to the front of the foot as well. And I think what that's going to do, having that little channel built in the shoe, not only helps guide the shoe as it's rolling through the foot strike, but it also gives the foam kind of somewhere to go as it's hitting the ground, and it kind of enhances some of that squishy feeling that you're getting. Now, to kind of counteract all this extra squishiness that they're putting into this bigger stack height of foam with this kind of squish channel that they've put into the bottom of the midsole, we do have a return of the speed board in the On Cloudeclipse. Now, for those of you guys like me who really dislike the speed board that's in a lot of other cloud shoes, don't worry, this is a flexible speed board, and it's not taking up the entire length of the shoe like it did in previous On shoes, and the placement is also very different. Instead of it being in between your foot and the midsole foam, it's now at the bottom of the shoe, and I feel like what it's ultimately doing is providing a bit of torsional stability and helping provide a little bit of snappiness in what could otherwise be kind of too much mushy, squishy foam. Now, moving to the top, we have a very similar upper design and technology that's gone into the Cloudsurfer, and we're seeing it again in the Cloudeclipse. They're using their dope dye technique for the yarns that are in the upper here, and what that is a way of dyeing these materials that uses 90% less water, and for these materials, there's 100% recycled polyester, so they're doing their part here to help lessen the impact on the environment that it takes to make this shoe. And the result here is still a shoe that's very comfortable. The upper here is stretchy and a very different kind of material that we saw in the Cloudsurfer. The Cloudsurfer was really kind of like plush and comfy, and if I recall correctly, I kind of critiqued it for being like very not On, which is known for like the precision and Swiss engineering. We're getting a lot of that back into the Cloudeclipse. This upper not only fits really well, it feels like it's tailored to your foot, but it's not snug or unnecessarily tight. Everything kind of fits in the right way that it's supposed to fit. And what I absolutely love about the upper in this shoe compared to the Cloudsurfer is that they've been very restrained in the amount of excess padding that they put in the shoe. For example, in the tongue, we don't have a big puffy sweat sponge tongue. Instead, we have basically a knit tongue upper, which is very comfortable both to the touch and on foot. And then back in the heel cup, there is a little bit of padding in here, but not too much. I feel like it's just right for a shoe of this type and category. So I feel like they're much more restrained in the editing of this upper. Not only fit true to size, but was very comfortable and confidence inspiring to have on your foot. Altogether, this is a big shoe, so there is big weight, but it's kind of lighter than you would think it is. On is reporting that this is 285 grams or 10.0 ounces. Now that we've talked about the paper specs of the shoe, let's talk about getting it onto the road. I feel like this is a very comfortable and very cushioned rise. It looks like a max cushion shoe, and putting it on foot, it felt like a max cushion shoe. I took it for runs on the day after a workout day, and my feet were very happy to be in the shoe that, again, fit very well, true to size, but also had cushion underneath that was nice and squishy and very accommodating for a day where I had very tired feet and legs. But there is kind of like one extra thing about this On Cloudeclipse that I found to be really nice surprise. If you take a look at kind of like the footprint of the shoe, it has something that I see in a handful of other shoes that kind of lets me know that this isn't just like a long, slow distance, easy day kind of cruiser. It kind of has a little bit more cut out from the medial arch of the shoe, and it kind of has this little point that sticks out and angles out before it comes back in towards the tip of the big toe. And that's something that I see in shoes that you can typically take for a little bit more of a serious or intense workout. And so I did take this out for a run where I had some faster paces in the run, and I felt like even up to moderate paces, getting near marathon effort pace, I felt like the On Cloudsurfer was very willing to pick up the pace. Now, it's still a very big shoe and it gets clunky if you're trying to do sprints in them, so it's not exactly a track workout shoe, and I hope that's pretty obvious just from looking at it. But when I'm taking it for those longer runs where I'm gonna have a little bit of pace changes in the run, I feel like the On Cloudeclipse is going to be a really fun companion to have on those kinds of days. So there's a lot of pace versatility here for everything from recovery day all the way up to moderate paces, which was a nice surprise. All right, now that we've talked about what I like about this shoe, let's talk about where I could put it into a rotation with some other shoes. Now, one thing that you could definitely do with it is use this for your max cushion easy days, and then use the Cloudsurfer for kind of like your everyday. But I feel like because this shoe is so versatile in terms of paces, you could really use this one shoe for kind of both purposes. Everything from like very slow, easy distance to your everyday miles. And so like really the only other shoe that you would kind of need would be a racing shoe, because again, I feel like this shoe can go up to moderate paces, but I don't know that I would necessarily want to race in it. So the first shoe that I think that comes to mind for someone that's gonna love the Cloudeclipse is going to be another big shoe that's a lot of fun to run in, and that's gonna be the Adidas Prime X 2 Strung. Now this is an extra tall stack height shoe with 2 layers of carbon fiber plates and a bunch of super racing foam. I feel like the person that loves spending most of their time in the Cloudeclipse is probably also going to really enjoy running in the Prime X 2. Now, some of you might point out, hey, Kofuzi, you know what? That is a 50mm stack height shoe and technically not legal for racing in road marathons. I'd respond to that by saying, you know what? Unless you are trying to win prize money or set an American or world record, that rule really doesn't apply to you. I raced in the first Prime X Strung when I ran Boston earlier this year, and of all the things the BAA police could have come after me for, the shoes wasn't one of them. But I hear what you're saying, so I'll give you another recommendation for racing. If you like the Cloudeclipse for your recovery runs and daily training, I think another shoe you could look at is the Saucony Endorphin Elite. This is a shoe that I've been recommending over and over this year. It's been super fun to run in. It is a jumbo tall stack height shoe that just pushes up to that 40mm limit, but they're making use of every single millimeter. It feels like a much taller shoe, but it's also really lightweight and super fun to run fast in. So I feel like those two shoes are going to be a really fun combination. Now let's talk about the pricing, the buying guide, and some competition that exists in the market that I feel like if you're looking at this shoe, you should also probably take a look at some of these other shoes. Now the On Cloudeclipse comes in at $180, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but let's put it toe to toe with some competition to see if it's out of line with what the market is offering across a couple different brands. Now the first shoe that I think that the On Cloudeclipse reminds me of is going to be the Nike Invincible 3. Now this shoe kind of is on paper very similar to the On Cloudeclipse. It looks like a max cushion shoe, and a lot of people like it for their max cushion easy recovery day types of runs. But I also find that the Invincible 3 is really good at moderate efforts, like running a lot of marathon pace miles in your workouts. Exactly how I think that the On Cloudeclipse can be a lot of fun. Now, I feel like the On Cloudeclipse does a much better job at those super chill, easy runs than the Invincible 3. I always find the Invincible 3 kind of fighting me when I want to go really slow and take it very easy. So there are some differences there, and the Invincible 3 is a lot heavier than the On Cloudeclipse, but both of these shoes come in at $180. Now, the last shoe that I'm going to talk to you guys about is another tall stack height shoe that some people love using for their easy runs, but it also is really good at those moderate efforts, and that's going to be the Asics Super Blast. In fact, I actually only like this shoe when I'm running moderate effort. So when I'm picking up the pace, not a ton, but a little bit. I feel like the FF Turbo Foam that's in here gives it a nice pop for those days where you're gonna be on your feet a long time and also trying to cover those miles quickly. Now, I do feel like the Super Blast handles marathon miles a bit better. In fact, I raced CIM in this shoe last year, but I do feel like the On Cloudeclipse also does really easy chill miles a lot better than the Super Blast. So depending on what you're looking for, it might push you one way or the other between these two shoes. And the Asics Super Blast comes in at $200 now. I still would love to see that come down like $5 or $10 to get us like to $190 for the pricing on that Super Blast. But as it stands, you are paying a $20 premium to get into the Super Blast. So those are my thoughts on the On Cloudeclipse. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?